Hello and welcome back to another Doctor Who action figure review. In today's review we're going to be taking a look at the first set of the second wave of B&M exclusives, which is the Ninth Doctor's collector set featuring two versions of the Ninth Doctor, one as a hologram, and this rather strange get-up, but more on him later. As well as that, we also get the return of Disco Dancing Rose. There are some unique choices that we're getting, as well as seeing some more of the spin-off media-related merch, but before we get into all of that, let's begin by taking a look at the packaging. As ever, the box is the same deco that we've seen loads of times, you know, the TARDIS on the side, the stacked Doctor Who logo, gold limited edition sticker, and the name of this set. On the back, we sadly don't get any publicity images of the products, but we do get some information about the Ninth Doctor and Rose, which is always nice to read. Out of the box, the figures do look great. I know some people might be wondering, why on earth have we got a Ninth Doctor with blue jeans? Why does his face look different? Why have character options dug up that old sculpt of Rose? Why, oh why, do I hear you ask? Well, before I give you all the deets, let's begin by taking a look at the first figure. So, beginning with the new and improved Ninth Doctor, there are some renovations to the actual sculpt regarding the head and the jacket. It's based yet again on one of the Titan comic covers where there's a little Ninth Doctor action figure on the front in a little blister card where he's actually wearing blue jeans similar to the 8th Doctor. So beginning with the head, I'm undecided whether I like this new version or not. It's definitely a bit of a step up, and it makes out to be a new variant considering he looks more happier than his previous sculpt. The paint apps are superb, but in regards to some of the sculpting, I think it looks a bit soft. I mean, you can tell who it's meant to be, but I feel that some of the detailing has been lost. One major example is the mole on his right cheek, and some of the wrinkles on his forehead don't seem to be quite prominent. Same goes with the hairline. When you look down the neck, there doesn't seem to be much there, but on a whole, it still looks pretty good, and you can tell who it's meant to be. Like I said, I think the paint apps work here, as it's not been applied too thick. Otherwise, I would have said it was a bit of a downgrade. Apparently, the reasoning for this new head sculpt was due to the fact that the moulds for the original head were deemed unsuitable due to the number of releases we've had throughout the years. So if we do get another version of the Ninth Doctor in the foreseeable future, I gather this will be the sculpt they will use. Moving down to the costume, the jacket has also had a revise. I am in two minds when it comes to this new one, as it sits on the body so naturally, especially when you take a look at how the lapels and the collar hang. Again, the paint apps are definitely a step up, considering we used to just get a block colour. Although my main argument with this is, again, some of the detailing has been lost, such as the textured leather feel that the original one had. It felt more like a battered used leather jacket, whereas this one comes across as a bit bland and very unnatural. I don't know what it is, but it feels really off. The blandness does show, and I feel like it doesn't contrast well onto the arms, whereas all the leather is all creased and bunched up. I feel like having new arms would have worked well here, but if you look at it from a distance, it doesn't look too noticeable. It's just intriguing that they went to this extent just to make sure we can still have a Ninth Doctor figure at all, and I really admire character options for that. The jumper has also been painted purple, just like how we saw in the version we got in the 13th Doctor set. And then taking a look at this obscurity, we have the trousers that have been painted blue. As I've said, these are supposed to resemble yet another comic book variant, which I know not everyone's gonna like. They are pretty similar to how they have created the 8th Doctor ones, where they've added a dark base coat with lighter washes over the top, just to make them look like denim. And it really does work here. I just think they've done a really nice job trying to replicate that. And then last thing, we have the boots, which have just been painted matte black, kind of similar to how we saw in the 13th Doctor set version. Like I said, in the past, I do like it when character options do take a nosedive in expanded media, as it adds a bit of variety to the shelf, and it's a chance for fans who follow expanded media to get a physical figurine from said media. However, I think we should have actually gotten a variant of him from his actual tenure. Hell, I think the green jumper is crying for a re-release by this point, as it's such a hard variant to get. Even though it was a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive, it still needs to be re-released. Or even his look from his penultimate story, where they've only ever released it the once, and it's again very hard to track down. Even I don't own a copy of that. But overall, a very, very nice figure. Moving on to Rose Tyler, which is an extremely ancient sculpt. It was first seen in the Dalek Battlepack set way back when the range first started out. It had the ugliest paint apps on the hair and the wackiest pose going. It was later explained that these figures were meant to be static figurines, but later on they decided to add articulation, even though it was quite basic. They didn't really know how far the range was going to go. It was a bit of a daft pose, but like I said, this is something from the Jurassic Age, so it's bizarre that they've actually dug this out for this specific set. On the other hand, they have given it a bit of a revamp in regards of the costume, which is based on a very specific scene in World War III. A lot of people were speculating whether it was from End of the World, because those outfits are vastly similar in regards of the hoodie, but enough about that. The head sculpt is quite basic, but this was during the day where figures were actually sculpted by hand instead of the actors being scanned like they are nowadays. You can sort of tell who it's meant to be. The characteristics are there. The paint apps are also an improvement in regards of the hair, which are a softer plastic this time around, which has been painted yellow with these darker washes over the top, just to make the detailing in the hair stand out better. Now, one thing to add, but I don't know if this is 100% true, after the Series 2 variant of Rose came out, Billie Piper actually retracted the use of her likeness to be used in the action figure range, which is probably the reasoning why we'll never see an updated version of Rose ever again. Take it as you will, I'm not sure if it's 100% factual, but this is the reasoning that I've been told. Like I said, this costume is based on her appearance from the last few scenes from World War III, where she's packing her bags to go and travel with the Doctor. It's really cool that they've gone to this length of detail to give us a bit of variety. On the front of the hoodie, you have this reddish detailing, just like on the original costume, with a silver zip running up the front, which is a nice added detail. The rest of the hoodie has just been cast in this grey colour, as well as on the back of the arms, and they too have just been given this dirtier wash over the top. The jeans too have been updated, with them slightly being darker than with what we've seen in the past, with lighter washes of purple, just to represent the denim effect on them. And to end it all off, we have her white trainers, which are pretty much from what we've seen in the past. Again, we could have had a bit of a dirty wash over the top, she does a lot of running, and, it would have added a bit of detailing there. Like I've said, I'm amazed that they've re-released this version of her, considering that this sculpt is well over 15 years old. But I am intrigued that they have done something new instead of just getting a straight up re-release that we've seen time after time. Now, taking a look at another unique figure, we have the Ninth Doctor as a hologram as seen in Parting of the Ways. Now, this was a bit of a surprise to me when it was first announced, as I thought it was never going to happen due to the fact that these are the most expensive figures to make. But it is really nice to finally have this added to the collection. The figures use all the original parts from the standard posed version of the Ninth Doctor. It's been cast in this clear blue plastic with all these darker washes over the top in certain areas such as the hair and the eyebrows, as well as the eyes and lips, just to make those details stand out from the rest of the face. Just like the 10th Doctor hologram figure, you have these scan lines going through the figure just to represent the slightly more solid sections of the hologram, which I always think is a nice touch. I actually own the original release, which was first released at the 50th anniversary celebration event, which sadly did not feature those lines. It was just plain. But later releases did feature that said design. The old jacket sculpt is utilised here, and it still looks good. Like I said, I still kind of prefer how this one looks, and in all honesty, it still retains all those small detailings, like the leather textures and the buttonhole on the lapel, and overall just looks more like the jacket as seen on screen. All the other details are pretty much the same, so there's nothing else to decipher this one from the new version, and it's such a nice looking figure overall. Originally, this figure was meant to be released quite some time back, as prototypes of that said figure started to appear on forums. It was meant to come out in the disco dancing pose, but never came to be. Kind of glad that never happened, mind you, as it looks 100% better here with his natural pose. Like I said, it is a really nice figure of the Ninth Doctor. It's just a shame that this variant has finally been put to rest. But what a way to end it. I was thinking we would have had 3 versions of the Ninth Doctor with just different coloured jumpers, which a lot of fans were speculating, but I'm glad we've got something a little more interesting this time around. So for the Ninth Doctor, even though some of it is a brand new sculpt, he still retains the original articulation, so his head can move side from side. It could probably do a full 360 if you force it, but you don't really want to. The arms can do a full 360, as well as the biceps, and the elbows can bend at a 90-degree angle. The wrists can do a full 360. He has also got 360 movement in his hips, and then his legs can move forward and out to the sides, and he can also bend at the knee, so very good for posing your Ninth Doctor in an action pose. Now, when it comes to Rose, sadly, because she's such an old figure, she barely has any articulation, but there is a bit, so let's talk about that. So, the head can slightly turn, but the hair hinders it. Her her arms can sort of move, but they're very limited. Same with that one. It's a bit more free, this one, actually, to be fair. And then she also has articulations at the, well, I wouldn't really say it's bicep articulation. I would argue to say it's more at the elbow. The hips can also do a full 360 turn, and the legs can, well, slightly move. Mine's quite stiff, and I don't really want to force it, so that's pretty much that. Well, there you have it. The Ninth Doctor set is a pretty good one if you ask me, considering they went all out just to make sure we get Ninth Doctor figures in the future, which is very generous of them. Even though it's tricky to do any more variants of his incarnation, it could mean we could be getting those said same versions, but utilised with this new head sculpt and new jacket. One I'd definitely love to see is the black jumper variant, considering how hard it was to get, or even the green jumper variant, which was a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive, and also extremely rare. Rose also seems like a breath of fresh air, albeit a very old figure itself, but with the new paint apps, it's kind of brought this figure back to life in a sense, instead of just having something that they did release several times in the past. And the Ninth Doctor hologram is also a very nice figure. It's something that I didn't think we would ever see released, but it's a fine addition to the collection. So that pretty much wraps this review up. If you're wanting to get this figure for yourself, then I highly recommend trying your local B&M to track this one down. If you don't live anywhere near a B&M store, then I highly recommend using the B&M websites to actually buy this set for yourself, as they have started to appear online, which is a massive, massive bonus. So happy hunting for all you fans out there, and stay tuned for another review coming very soon.